Thank you, Josh. Shalom, everyone. With so much gratitude and joy. Wow, this is the night before Pesach, and here we are together. Barachot habaot and baruchim habaim. Welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for carving time out of a busy day, the day before. Here in Israel, I'm speaking from Yerushalayim, from my home in Nachlaot. Soon after I finish this wonderful time with you, I'll be getting ready for B'dikat Chametz. So yes, let's just take a moment, because of the busy schedules that all of us have been working through. I'd like to invite everyone, before I share what I consider to be an amazing, inspiring teaching, quite radical as well. But let's bring ourselves together, mind, body, heart, and soul, with ourselves and with each other, as we share 3 cycles of being breathed into, which is the supernal exhalation, becoming our earthly inhalation, and then pause for a moment and gaze at the wonder of life that we are being given through the breath. And then together softly, we return as our earthly exhalation becomes the supernal inhalation. It's like ballroom dancing. And when we're completely emptied out of air, pause again to just take a moment, be aware of what it's like to have no air, the opposite. So with me, please, let's together, as we center ourselves, direct our awareness, mind, body, heart, and soul, within and without. Toda. So I'm going to share a teaching from the Piasetzner Rebbe, Rabbi Kalonymus Kalman Shapira, from one of his 7 Sfarim, Derech HaMelech. Actually, it's the first sefer he wrote. I started it in 1928, completed it 10 years later, right before the war started, World War II, a year later. And he teaches as follows, and this is something you can bring to your Seder table tomorrow. He begins by saying, Lechen, kol ish Yehudi tzarich lahagish ba'atzmo ulivchon et atzmo. Every Jew should feel oneself, be aware of oneself, and examine oneself. Tamid, always. Imhu nimtza kra. That's a phrase, nimtza kra, it meaning if the person is already present. It's checking in with ourselves. Do I feel present? Am I examining? Am I scanning through my mind, my body, my heart? Asking the question, am I present? Imani nimtzat kra. Va'az yuchal, if so, then achar kach liyot mebechinat zakah yatir. Then I will merit, if I'm present, I will merit to see me and the world through the lens of increased transparency, refinement, and purity. And he brings that down from the Zohar. Maybe Melila will be teaching this as well, this piece of Zohar, from Parshat Mishpatim, Zakah yatir yahavin le ruach, that when we cultivate presence, the Zohar teaches that we will be given this extra transparency. That's his source for making that statement. What if I'm not always present? What if I'm not even trying to be present? Chas v'shalom, God forbid. Eno yachal is a kut yater. I won't be able to sense this higher transparency, this pure awareness of both me and everything around me. And then he relies on a Mishnah, which is discussed in the Gemara, in Masechet Pesachim, which we will recite tomorrow at the Seder. U'kamoshe nirmaz b'Haggadah, as we say in the Haggadah, b'chol dor v'dor, it's incumbent upon each and every generation, chayav adam le'ot et atzmo ki'ilu hu yatsa miMitzrayim. This is so important. The Baal Tanya, the Alter Rebbe who wrote Tanya, actually adds in his teaching of this, not only b'chol dor v'dor, b'chol yom v'yom. Every day, this is a daily practice. To see, in fact, if I am coming out of my own Mitzrayim. Usually, though, the Peshat, how we read this, picture after the word ki'ilu, comma. I'll read it as follows. Chayav adam li'ot et atzmo ki'ilu, comma, hu yatsa miMitzrayim. Each person is obligated to see oneself as if, comma, he has come out of Mitzrayim. So what's the emphasis here? Is somehow I'm being told by the Mishnah and then through the Gemara, the discussions with Chazal, that when I sit down to the Seder, I'm supposed to see me as if I were in Egypt, in Mitzrayim, coming out of Egypt. Okay, that's fine. However, the PSS has a different take on this. He puts the comma. It's all where you put the comma, Chavrei, or it's all where you pause. Or read it according to how he teaches it. Chayav adam le'ot et atzmo, comma, ke'ilu hu yatsa miMitzrayim. Each person is obligated to see oneself. That's the chiyuv. That's the obligation. Meaning, am I present? Am I here in mind, body, and heart and soul? If I am, that's a ke'ilu. That's like I'm coming out of Egypt. So the emphasis is not to see me as if I'm someone else, reaching back into history 3,400 years ago, but this very moment, do I see me? Because a slave cannot see oneself. They're controlled by the slave master. They're treated without the dignity, without the freedom of time, freedom of movement, to be able to cultivate presence. So therefore, when we do cultivate this, this is what we say in Hebrew, a ke'ilu. This is mamash ke'ilu. I have come out of my own inner Mitzrayim. So he then emphasizes, shetzarich le'rot et atzmo. That's what I have to do. I have to, this is what we do at the Seder table. I would even invite all of you to take a moment when we read this portion, just so everyone can sit for one moment to check in with themselves. Where am I? What am I feeling? How am I thinking? Is it me I'm really with? Im hu kvar nimtza. If the person is really, really present. It's an amazing insight he provides here that spiritually, the reason why spiritually we are in galut is because pieces of our soul, going back to the Kabbalistic idea of the sparks that were shattered and pieces of our soul falling all over the globe. Have you ever noticed, maybe with yourselves, some of us are drawn to be here or to be there. I know I have a friend he's drawn to live in Alaska. I'm drawn to live in Yerushalayim. I'm not talking about political or physical or historical diaspora. This is a spiritual. This is a spiritual sense of exile from myself. And for me to come home to my own inner homeland, I need to reclaim one of those sparks. And that's why we are in the spiritual galut. Kikola galut hu im eino nimtza, because when I'm not present with all of me, I'm not b'shleimut, which is okay. It means I'm invited to the practice. I'm invited to engage. I'm invited to be more present. And in that way, I am reclaiming, I'm recapturing, I'm renewing my bigger self, my more whole self, my higher self. Lechen, chayav adam lirot et atzmo. That's the obligation. Va'azhu, and if we do this, this is a ki'ilu. This is just as if the person has come out of Mitzrayim. Oh, let us sit with that for one moment as we prepare. Contemplate, to visualize, see what thoughts come up for you as you go into your own. I like to invite participants when I lead a sit of this nature based on text. Consider you are your own chavruta, and you're going to do a chazara, a review. What part of the text really either bolet, kind of stuck out for you or called you, or where you felt, oh, wow, I didn't know this. And I invite you, as you settle into the breathing rhythm, your rhythm of receiving, pausing, returning, pausing, to be aware of, what am I thinking right now about this? What feelings come up for me? So let us share together in our virtual, I don't like to say, I have shied away to say the Zoom room. This is not a Zoom room. This is a virtual meditation room, a virtual Beit Midrash. So I invite you, as we sit together, to cultivate contemplative practice, the avodah ruchanit of hitbonanut, and see where, as the curious explorer that all of us can be with our own internal landscape, where this takes us. Let us begin as we share again 3 cycles, then we'll move into silence. And as we softly and gently move into our closing 2 minutes of our sit, I invite everyone for a short moment to move into a blessing practice. Perhaps there's someone that you connect with, that you love, that you're close with, who's really stuck in their own inner Mitzrayim. It's really hard for them to be present, to really be with themselves for all kinds of and sorts of reasons. Let's offer up to the universe, to the creator of the universe, to manifest in abundance, more compassion, more support, more encouragement, so that person can also experience a ki'ilu, as that person may become more aware and more present. So we'll sit with that person as we visualize that person in our minds and hearts for another short moment, and then we'll draw it to a close. And as we share a closing sharing of a cycle of receiving, pausing, returning, and pause, let's conclude as we began with that. I invite you all with me. Toda, toda l'kulchem, mamash toda. Thank you.
Thank you, Yiscah. Invite you to stick around for a few minutes and we'll be able to have a conversation and share questions and reflections on the practice. And we'll say Kaddish in a moment. If you're leaving us, we want to wish you a very happy and liberating and sweet Pesach. We're going to put up Kaddish now. And if you want to, in the chat, put the name of anyone that you are remembering today as you recite Kaddish. We welcome you to do that in the chat. And then we'll invite you to unmute and you can join me in reciting Kaddish. So, Yitkadal.
Amen. Okay. So wherever it is.
All right.
We don't
We
know.
will need to remute there. There we go. So we will have a chance now to have a conversation with Yiscah and among each other about the practice. So Yiscah, thank you so much. You know, that piece of the Piazetzner that you shared, I remember learning that last fall. I've been reading Derech HaMelech in shul. Shh, don't tell anyone. I read in shul, and so I've been reading every week. That's been my sefer for the year. I remember reading that piece when you taught it just now, and how phenomenal that is. And it's all about the comma. It's all about where do you put the pause, right? There you go. Where do you put the comma? And I would love to hear from folks here, in the chat, how just that simple rereading of this verse that we say this every year, in every generation, we have to see ourselves as if we lift Egypt, but here it's just about, well, if you just put a little comma there, in every generation we have to see ourselves. And then it's as if we've left Egypt, that just in the seeing ourselves, I would love to hear how that landed for people here, and just ask you also for you yourself this year, how do you experience that as being alive and present for you? Let's see. Laura, I see, has a question. Do you have any suggestions as to how to be present oneself without judgment at a Seder table, surrounded by others who don't seem present, who are not seeking a spiritual experience? What do you have to say to that? and for others here too. I have my own thoughts, but Yiscah, I want to give you the floor first.
I would not wait to be given permission.
Yeah.
Be exactly what the chiyuv is. See yourself, be aware of what you're called upon. It's not a matter of forcing other people or labeling the shoulds, the coulds, the woulds. Just share your own sense of the beauty, the magnificent moment of, or as Heschel says, radically amazing moment. I want to share with my family, with my friends, with my chevra at the Seder. I feel so present. Like live the chiyuv, live the obligation of the Mishnah without having to teach others so they should do it. Just let it emanate from you with your passion, with your awareness, with your commitment, and with your sense of a ki'ilu. I'm coming out of Egypt through this, out of my own Mitzrayim. That's what I would suggest.
Beautiful. I also think about, like, I've certainly had the experience, and I imagine others may have also, of feeling profoundly absent at the Seder, so exhausted from all the things leading up to it, etc. And then I'm worried, I'm in the Haggadah, and I'm worried, and then at a certain point it hits me, it's like, am I even here, right? Am I even here at the Seder, right? And just reminding yourselves, right, it's like, I like to, when I do a wedding, I try to remind the couple that we have a mitzvah of being misameach chatan v'kala. You're supposed to rejoice, right, and make the couple happy, and that mitzvah is also incumbent on the people getting married, right? That if you also have to enable yourself to be be joyful, and so to be present with that. Just give ourselves a little bit of time and a little bit of space. And I love your encouragement. Just like, you don't need anybody's permission, right? Just that the mitzvah is to be there as yourself, to show up. It's really, really powerful. Some wonderful reflections coming in. Gail asks, but I want to share this with others. However, they may be totally absent and not even know that it matters. I think of the 4 children, right? And She'eino yodea lishol, the one who doesn't know how to ask. What's the answer? At patachlo, you have to open. I think it's the Spat Emet, right? Says, and you have to help them to open their heart, right? You've got to, and so I would ask Gail, and all of us, what's the inhibition sometimes we might feel? If there's a sense of inhibition, where's that coming from? I wonder. It's a really good question. How do you handle that, Yiscah, at your Sedarim?
I'm not really clear. I understand the question, actually.
I think the question, well, maybe we can invite Gail to reflect a little bit more, but she says, I want to share this with others. However, they may be totally absent and not even know that it matters. And so I guess the question is, can I share it with them? And if so, how? Right?
Well, I would say it's similar. Yeah, it's. I hear that question. Yes, I think we need to balance our own passion. It's like I have this precious jewel and I want to share it with someone, but yet I just can't give it to someone because they may not appreciate the value of the jewel. So I would say, again, be a person who is present, be a person who also talks in that moment of being present to the guests around you by being present with them. It's not only present with ourselves, it's to see people for how they are, which may not be the way you want to see them the way they are, but that's how they are. And I think that's part of the challenge when we cultivate presence. It's not just an inward discipline. It's how I look out and see others. I mean, how many times, whether it's with my family or students or friends, oh, if only you could get it the way I get it. And that's arrogant. That's because who knows what they're getting and what they're not getting. But if I speak from my heart and I kind of like invite them and suggest, well, what are you sensing right now? Like, ask the question, ask the 5th question, the 10th question. Maybe bring them into their own presence by asking them like open-ended questions. Not, are you present here at the Seder table? That's not open-ended, that's a judgmental question. But like, you know, I feel really this, that, I feel really like excited now, grateful, like the food, the once a year ritual, or chutz la'aretz, twice a year ritual of the Seder. What are you feeling right now? You may get an answer, I can't wait for this to be over so we can have the soup and the chicken soup. That's where that person is. And we need to honor them for that. So I think that's part of showing kavod. And then people will feel safer. They'll feel, actually, their hearts will open up. Josh and everyone else, I can say this because I've experienced it with the guests and with family and with other people. Just love them, hold them. We don't have the answers. We just have a way that we are sensing our presence. That's not the way, though.
Yeah, beautiful. Reminds me of, right, what our teacher Sheila Weinberg talks about, you don't judge other people for being failed versions of you, right? Maybe it's Nancy Flam, I should say.
Perfect.
But, and also, it also makes me think of, we start counting the Omer, the second night of Pesach, and we start with Chesed, right? Where's the ground? The whole thing is Chesed. And
yes.
And everything starts with Chesed, with so this is a night, as you're talking about, Yiscah, of just try to tap into that Chesed, right? It's just about being there and being together and being, and all of us can show up the way that we show up, and that's great, beautiful. Yeah. Easier said than done, obviously, of course. Practice at it, but for sure. Elizabeth, there's a question here related to this difficulty of loving the others. I at least am always tending to relive difficult childhood moments on this particular ritual occasion, right? Sometimes this is a child-oriented holiday, and for some of us that wasn't entirely pleasant necessarily, and that's also part of the reality, right? That's also part of the reality.
And sure. Actually, by looking back at it and feeling it again, it cultivates gratitude that I'm not in that hurting place anymore. I mean, that's what I've had some childhood moments that brought more pain than pleasure. Now I look back and say, oh, Baruch Hashem, thank you, God, that I'm in a more healed, really wonderful place with my own inner liberation, where years ago I might have felt like this. I can feel like this now. But now I know what this feels like because I did feel like that. So I have that. It's just like when the world was created, first there was chaos, and from chaos came darkness, and then from darkness came the light. And then Netivot Shalom talks about that the only time we see anything ever created before a creation was what was created before light. What was the world like before light? It was dark, to show us that the light comes from the darkness. So I would just invite people to, when they reflect back, to honor that the light in their lives now came partially from that.
And this ritual that we do at night, right? Dafka we do specifically we have this very unusual long big meal at nighttime,
At nighttime. At night.
specifically. So absolutely, some wonderful reflections on this. And some more coming in. Love the conversation that's happening in the chat as always. It's great. Beautiful. Cheryl mentioned, can I be vulnerable and take a risk sharing what it means to me and let them know that it's my desire to share myself with them because they are important to me? I don't know if you're asking that rhetorically, Cheryl. I'm not sure, but if you're not asking rhetorically, I would say, yes, you can. I hope you do. I hope you do. I hope I do, for sure. There's a question Lori has here. I love the idea that simply asking, where am I right now in my body, heart, and soul, and connecting to the answer that this is exiting my Mitzrayim each time. Do I set a goal for when I'll know I'm truly free? Do I set a goal for when I'll know that I'm truly free? Yeah, you want to respond to that?
What I've done in my life, and this is just my experience, and I invite you to partake and taste it. When my life is comprised of shoulds, coulds, and woulds, I know I'm not being present with the real me. I'm being present with other people, or I think I am. When I feel I dwell, as Emily Dickinson said, I dwell in the realm of possibility. I really believe that a lot of the cynicism in the world is not only due to the fact that most people are not cultivating presence, but when they don't cultivate presence, they live in the realm of probability. Well, I'll probably fail. Everything's probable. And we know as Jews, we wouldn't be here by the laws of probability. We're here because of possibility, of shariot. So when I start feeling, I have this new idea to write a book. I have this new idea to get this house that's like, I really can't afford it, but I can't afford not to get it. And I start not to be irresponsible, to be grounded with my 2 feet on the ground, but my mind and my heart allows for this machshava tova, this expanded behitvachavut consciousness, where I allow for possibilities. Is it possible? That means I'm cultivating more presence with me and with the divine wants of me. So that may be a tool to put in your spiritual toolbox that works for me.
And also, I think that's very much part of this essence of the Seder, is that it all stems from asking a question, right? We're required, even if the story, but you have to tell it derech she'ela u'tshuva. You have to ask a question and respond to that question. And the question is always, I remember a teaching once of why is a question mark shaped like, because it's sort of like a hook, that you plow the ground with, that a question is always opening up possibility. And that's a wonderful teaching to enter Leil Seder with. So beautiful. So much good conversation going on here. Yiscah, thank you so much. I'm getting so much, people are asking, we want more Yiscah, so we'll have to talk more about that. But thank you so much for this, and hope you have a successful Bedikat Chametz. You go search your house. And for everybody here, wishing you many blessings for a sweet and a liberating Pesach. We will look forward to seeing you again on the 14th. I'm told, and until then, have a Chag Sameach to everybody.
Chag Sameach. Chag Sameach. May you feel the spirit